They thought it was all over. When the Conservatives and Liberal Democrats formed their coalition after the 2010 general election, it looked to be the death knell for a third runway at Heathrow Airport. But now it's very much back on the table. It was among 3 options for airport expansion proposed by a government commission today, along with a major extension of an existing runway or an alternative plan to enlarge Gatwick Airport. Boris Johnson's proposal for a new airport in the Thames estuary will be given further consideration, as our economics editor Faisal Islam reports.
This happens 1,300 times a day at Heathrow, but Britain's largest airport is nearly full. And the question, should Heathrow, Britain's only major hub, be made bigger, as the current government recently ruled out? There are no easy decisions, even as the shortlist for an extra runway is cut to 3, maybe 4 options. But in a field between the villages of Sipson and Harmondsworth, now Heathrow Airport's preferred location for touchdown on a third runway, you start to see why attempts to expand airport capacity are so toxic and consistently delayed. The problems for Heathrow's remaining preferred option start at the end of this field. A village would have to be flattened, 1,500 houses demolished, listed buildings too. But it's not just that. There are environmental, noise and political constraints upon the expansion of Heathrow like no other airport.
This is Harmondsworth. It would be flattened, demolished and completely off the map, yes.
Today's Davis Commission interim report has only fired up the resistance of campaigners such as Margaret Thorburn, and not just at Heathrow. But here in Harmondsworth, an entire village, including listed buildings, are now under threat of being turned into tarmac. Because you were told by the government it was all off the table.
Shocked, horrified and appalled, really, that a government can be so easily swayed by big business, because that's really what's done it. It's the huge campaign. They've been pouring loads of money into the campaign recently, in the last year or two, to get Heathrow back onto the agenda and indeed to frighten people.
So what are the options to expand airport capacity in the southeast? That third runway could be built through Harmondsworth to the northwest of Heathrow. Or the existing northern runway could be doubled in length, allowing planes to take off and land at the same time. Then there's the second runway that could be built at Gatwick. Or a brand new airport at the Isle of Grain, also under consideration, though not yet on the official shortlist. Mayor of London Boris Johnson thinks that this would enable huge growth whilst moving the noise from heavily populated areas to the Thames estuary. But it would cost £112 billion, says the Davis Commission.
Well, the Mayor of London is quite sure that he knows the answer to this, which is that you need one very, very big hub and that's the future. I'm not so sure. I'm not as sure as him. I don't know quite why he is so sure, because if you look at the trends, it's not so clear. But if that's what you think, then that's the answer you come up with. So if you begin your process, as he did, by saying it can't be Heathrow and it must be a hub, well, then that's where you get to where he's got to. But we can't afford to do that.
The Davis Commission will now look at whether the bill for connecting up a brand new airport to rail and road networks is worth it, but all the noises from the Commission were rather sceptical, and not just because of cost. The argument both for the island airport and Heathrow has been motivated by trying to keep up with the huge growth of mega-hub airports in the east, some with as many as 9 runways. The politics may be rather toxic, but there's a giant economic call to be made too, in deciding essentially between expansion here at Heathrow and at Gatwick. And it's a vision of air travel in the future. It's either huge hubs like Heathrow connecting with other hubs like Shanghai and Dubai, or a different vision of point-to-point travel on competing airlines, low-cost airlines, and that would favour Gatwick. The vision, low-cost airlines flying long-haul to the US or India. Gatwick is emerging as something of a dark horse candidate for this extra runway.
We've got connections down into China and also Vietnam, and next year to Indonesia. So this is the benefit of Gatwick. We can serve with legacy carriers, the emerging economies, but at the same time we can also offer affordable flights with the low-cost carriers within Europe, and that's something that Heathrow just can't do. They've priced themselves out of that market.
But beware, exercises in aviation futurology tend to be rather flawed.